Hey everybody, it's Jason Creel and this is Lawn Care Life. Today I am talking about lawn care pricing increases, and the reason I'm doing it is because that's what I'm going through in my own business. I'm going up on prices, and I want to talk to you, answer 5 questions about it for you. So I'm going to answer, maybe not in this order, it depends on what order I can remember them. I want to talk to you about why I'm increasing prices. I want to talk about how I'm doing it. I want to talk about when I'm doing it. I want to talk about how much I'm increasing them. And 5th, I want to talk about who's getting the price increase. Am I increasing on some customers, all customers, how I'm approaching that. So we're going to address those 5 topics in this video. It is sponsored by Yardbook. That's the software I use and have been using for years to run my business. You can check them out at yardbook.com. Let's get started right now. There's also situations where I'm going to actually go above the normal price increase. So let's say it's a standard percentage across the board, but in certain situations a customer needs, maybe you mispriced it originally and you need to adjust it more to get it where it needs to be. Maybe that customer has turned out to be a lot more challenging than other customers, okay? So it's, they got a dog in the backyard. I've got to call them ahead of time every single time. They're late on paying their bill. They complain a lot, whatever it is. You may adjust one particular customer more, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this. It's maybe they've become such a pain that you increase it a significant amount and just saying, hey, listen, take it or leave it. If you want to drop me, drop me. I would rather not have you as a customer. You're getting a serious price increase because I'm tired of listening to the complaint. And of course, you're not going to say that to the customer, hopefully, but you know, a normal price increase might be this percentage and yours is double that or triple that. So however you want to approach those things. So, okay, so that answers the question of who. Who meaning everyone, a systematic approach, and then make exceptions where needed. There may be some you don't want to increase for certain reasons. There may be some you want to increase significantly more for other reasons. Now let's talk about the why of increasing prices. And then I'm going to get to the how and the how much and the when. So the why increase prices can be obvious in some ways, but sometimes I find that lawn care business owners don't do it often enough. Now some people say I just raise prices every year. I'm personally not one of those kind of people. But the truth of the matter is that inflation is a real thing, and it's being talked about a lot in our economy today. But even when it's not being talked about, it's still a real thing. I mean, the value of a dollar does not go as far as it used to. We all probably heard parents and grandparents talk about what some particular item cost, their first car cost, or what a gallon of gas cost years ago. So your dollar doesn't go as far now. And I'm no economist, but that's basically the understanding of what inflation is. So and in some years obviously it's worse than other, and we're maybe experiencing some more severe inflation now. So you need to raise your prices up just to keep up with inflation. But when you have a situation where inflation is more of a reality, or where your expenses go up, then you might need to adjust it even more or more frequently. So for instance, in my biz, I do weed control and fertilization, but this can apply to mowing as well. But in weed control, our actual materials are but in weed control, our materials are going up. Fertilizer prices are going up. Grass seed prices are going up. The cost of the chemicals go up almost every year. Some years more than others. Those things are an actual expense in the business going up. Then if you're charging the same price, then let's face it, you're working for less money than you were the year before. Now, if you're saying, well, I just mow grass. Well, you gotta look at the price of your equipment. The price of labor is definitely going up, okay? So what does it cost you to hire somebody, pay somebody? That can be significantly more than it was 5 years ago or even last year. So if you're not charging more, then you're working for less. I mean, it comes as a simple fact. And almost every business does it. And those who don't are really getting behind the times. And I find those that are successful long-term, then they are gradually increasing prices. And you think about it like this. Let's say, and this is not that complicated, but let's say you go up 10%. I'm not recommending go up 10%. But let's say you increase your prices 10% and you lose 4% of your customers. Well, now you got 4% less yards and you're making more money. I mean, if you go up 10% and you lose 10% of your customers, you're basically making the same amount of money with less work, okay? Now, it may not work out exactly like that, but you get the point. even if you lose some customers from the price increase, and let me say a note on that, most of the time the fear of losing them is worse than the reality of losing them. Meaning, you may think, oh, I'm going to lose 40 customers, and you lose 4 instead of 40. You know, I find that oftentimes I lose very few customers when I increase prices. One other thing I forgot to mention earlier is what I'm doing as far as trying to combat the price increases and things like that as far as our industry goes. So I'm trying to buy fertilizer ahead of time if possible. I mean, the projections are that it may go up significantly next year. There's a little bit of a variable there, but I can pre-order it and get it ahead of time and lock that in, or take care of any discount programs that are offered. So, you know, do what you need to do on your end. I think the other thing is having a real tight route is important, so you're cutting down some of the overhead expenses as far as driving and stuff. Obviously, gasoline costs more now than it did a year ago at the time of this video. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to mention as far as things you can do to be more profitable even without going up on the prices. Yeah, I'm recommending go up on the prices. I think you would not be smart not to, but if you have a tight route. The other thing I'm also doing is focus on smaller yards. So our margins are typically better on smaller yards. The price that we're charging per 1,000 square feet is greater. So you know, as the bigger the yard, the price per 1,000 goes down. So the chemical cost is significantly less of a factor on a small yard, and margins are thus higher. Now again, you don't want one small yard you gotta drive 30 minutes to get to. That doesn't make sense. The advantage of a big yard is you're there working on. So I'm not saying small or big, but in this situation, the small ones, the chemical cost and fertilizer costs are not as big of a factor on there because our margins are already higher. So that may be something else you want to consider. As far as hiring people and as far as tying this in with why increase prices, if your business is struggling to hire people, sometimes, in my opinion, the problem is you're not making enough money to be able to pay a decent wage to somebody to come work for you. So again, you got to be profitable to be able to pay somebody. A lot of times, if you're struggling to get by, how are you going to bring on somebody else to come join my struggling business, and I'll pay you a struggling wage so that we can struggle together, okay? But if I'm making more money, I can afford to pay that person more, probably get a better quality employee. But again, that requires your prices to support the people working in your business. All right, next I'm going to tackle how much. Okay, and I'm just going to tell you what I did this year. Doesn't mean it's what you should do, but I went 7% across the board this year, and then again I adjusted some that were more difficult. Maybe the customer was out of the way. I thought I was going to pick up several yards in that neighborhood, and I only have 1 yard in that neighborhood, so I got to drive out of the way to go to that 1 yard. Well, I'm gonna have to increase them more to make it worth my while, or maybe even some situations put that customer with another provider. It's just simply not profitable for you. So for me, it was 7%. Now, 7%, I don't know that you're going to want to increase 7% every year. Customers, I think, would probably get tired of that. You may can get away with it, you may not. I personally, whatever your percentage is, instead of, let's say you're going to do 3% every single year. Okay, you might could do that, and it would probably be fine. You're going to obviously lose customers, but you may not lose as many as you're gaining, so it may be fine. I personally would rather have a system where I increase prices, and I need to get more systematic at this, but I think I would like to have a system where it's like every 3 years we do a price increase. You know, so every 3 years we go up 7% or something like that. To me, that makes sense. Instead of just increasing it every single year. As a customer, I think I would appreciate that more, even if it turned out to be the same amount of money. If it was 3% every year or 9% every 3 years, I think I'd rather do 9% every 3 years. Now, you might be cost yourself a little bit of money because you're delaying it 3 years before you get that price increase. But I personally, it's a little bit of a job to go to do a price increase. Just my thought. You may have a different thought here. Let me hear from you in the comments if you do. I do think there's something about one advantage of increasing every year is your customers just kind of come to expect it. Like, yeah, he goes up 3% every year, and that's just the way it works. And some of them are going to be fine with that, and some of them are not, and that's okay. All right, the when I increase prices, I'm doing it at the end of the year. And I had a friend of mine talk me into this. He said, usually I do it at the beginning of the year. Now I'm doing weed control and fertilization. It runs year round, okay? So at the beginning of the year, normally I would offer the customer a 5% discount if they prepay. And that's something else. If you go up 7% and you say, hey, if you prepay, get 5% off. Now you're saying, why would you cost yourself 5%? Well, my theory is a dollar in January is worth more than $1 at the end of the year. If you invest that money, there's a lot of investments that can make you more than 5% over the course of the year. So I would rather have their money in January at a 5% discount than in December without the 5% discount, because I'm banking on the fact that I can make more than 5%, whether paying down some kind of interest or investing it and earning some kind of interest. Normally I would leave an option for the customer and communicate with them that, hey, you can prepay for the year at the beginning of the year. But a friend of mine, he told me, he said, hey, listen, I've started doing it at the end of the year before the holidays come, because when people start doing Christmas shopping, sometimes they're short on money, or January they're trying to recover from the Christmas shopping. So he said if you can get it to them early. So this year I'm doing it on my last round of treatment. So in November, when I'm going out there putting their final treatment down for the year, and that may be some other time, I'm going ahead and giving them the letter that tells them, explains the price increase to them. And I've got 2 documents that a friend helped me with. One of them is a note that's explaining why I'm increasing the prices. And I also actually did a video and emailed it out and just kind of explained it in my own words for people that prefer video. But I put a plastic bag with a self-addressed envelope in there with these 2 letters. One is explaining what's going on, why we're increasing prices, the cost of my materials are going up. And the second one is a prepay letter if they want to prepay, and I'm also switching over to credit card on file. So I give them an option. I said, hey, credit card on file or prepay with a 5% discount. And then they can mail that back with their check to prepay for the year, or they can let me know they want to do a credit card on file, which is also fine with me. Again, I'm trying to put it on their door before the year ends, and I want as many as possible to prepay for the year. That's fine. If they want to do a credit card on file, that's also fine. So this is when I'm doing it. Now, I think that the right answer though, when do you increase prices? You increase prices when you need to. You don't say, all right, it's April and my business is, I'm starting to mow grass for this year, my prices are too low, so I guess I'll have to wait till next November to increase them. No, if you need to increase them right then, you need to increase them when you figure out that they're too low, okay? And it may be, I figured out this price over here on this particular customer is too low. Now, the exception to me is I'm not going up on people that I just signed up like late in the fall. If somebody signs up in October and I tell them it's $45, I'm not going to come back in November and tell them it's went up to $50. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to stick with the price I gave them. I may go up on them next year. But the customers I've had for almost a year, and some I've had for several years, some I've had for several years and never increased their price, then I'm going up on all of them pretty much across the board. Lastly, how I'm doing it, and I sort of alluded to this already. Got the forms printed out, I put it on their door, but what I did for myself was, I'm using Yardbook. I took the customer, I downloaded the customer file, okay? It comes in like an Excel worksheet or Google Sheets, however you want to do it. And so I've got their name, I've got their address, I put their price in there, and then I just did a few little formulas on Excel or on Google Sheets. And so basically I took their current price and I multiplied it, I made a new column, multiplied it by 1.07. Okay, that's my 7% increase. Now if you want to do 10%, multiply by 1.1, whatever you want to do. And so that populated it at a new column with a 7% increase. Well, that gave me a bunch of decimals, okay? I don't want a bunch of decimals. So I made another column to the right of that where I had it rounded off to the nearest whole number. $47.35, it gets rounded to $47. If it's $47.54, it gets rounded to $48. Well, then I made one more column, and this is where I filled in my exceptions. Okay, so I had the exceptions where this one, it was $50 after a 7% increase. Let's say it went to $53, I'm not sure. And then, but I said, wait a minute, that's that lady that complains all the time and whose dog almost bit me and I just get sick of it. And I hadn't went up on her price in 6 years because she always tells me how she doesn't have any money. And I don't really believe her because she drives a fancy SUV in her driveway all the time, is always taking elaborate vacations. So I'm going up on her more than 7%, and so I write the exception number on the right side, okay? So instead of it being $53, I'm like, heck, she's $58, take it or leave it. That's how that worked. I made that Excel document. So now, as I'm going out doing their yards, okay, and I'm out working today, I'm putting out lime in the winter, put the lime out, I take the piece of paper, I'm trying to get to email and invoice and all that, but like I said, I'm also switching people over to credit card on file, prepay only, which I'm thrilled about that. But I hang the plastic bag, self-addressed envelope, the two notes, one explaining why I'm going up on prices, the other one showing the form where they can check credit card on file, prepay only. I've got their name written on there, I've got their new price, I've got their price with a 5% discount if they want to prepay for the year. I've got check boxes if they want fire ant control, tree and shrub fertilization, weed control, and the flower beds. You can choose those options, and then they check and let me know, hey, I want to prepay or I want credit card on file. Leave that on the door. That's a little bit more work than it normally is. I usually just do the yard and email and the invoice at the end of the day, but I'm getting everybody switched over to my system. This is going to save me time in the future, and I'm increasing prices, which is something I desperately needed to do. And I'm just overall excited about it. But I wanted to tell you, not this is the only way to do it. Leave me in the comments if you have a different way. But this is the who, the when, the why, the how, and the how much of my price increase for my lawn care business. I hope you found it helpful. If so, leave it a thumbs up, share it, like it, whatever. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the other maybe 800 videos on the channel. I'm also got a lot of information at lawncarelife.com. I've got weed control and fertilization academy if you're looking to start a weed control business. I've got a business video course for those mowing. I got a lot of things out there. I've even got a 1-year mentorship program I've started at lawncarelife.com if that's something you're interested in doing. That would be mostly for somebody looking to start a weed control and fertilization business that lives in the South, deals with warm season grasses. It would be a 1-year mentorship where we would, you'd have email and text access to me. We would have regular scheduled phone calls. You'd get all the courses and everything. That's somebody that wants me to help them through it for the first year, and that's an option as well. So appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Got to get to work, start raising these prices. See ya.